Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Turns, sweep right side, it's Singleton, touchdown, Penn State. The Nittany Lions take the lead in the Rose Bowl. Clifford takes it, wants to throw, fires in the end zone, touchdown, Penn State, Mitchell Tinsley. The Nittany Lions take the lead. They'll give it to Singleton to the 15, 20, Singleton 25, 30. He's to the 40, he's to the 50. Goodbye, he is gone. Nicholas Singleton to the house. Play action fake. Clifford waits time, delivers deep downfield. Lambert Smith's open at the 50, 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Penn State. The Nittany Lions dramatically hit an 88-yard touchdown pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith, and for the first time today, they have a two-score lead. Strange, Singleton, Allen. Near hash, attacking the end zone to our left. Second and goal at the 1. Clifford turns, gives it left side, stood up at the goal line, but into the end zone. Touchdown, Penn State. Sean Clifford culminates his Penn State career with maybe the biggest victory of his career.
And the Penn State fans and the Penn State players are just giving him such an ovation.
35-21, the Nittany Lions win it. They are 11-2 on the season, and we will be carrying the Rose Bowl trophy presentation.
Hey, belated Happy New Year, everyone. We welcome everyone to the show as we're in transition from Rose Bowl yesterday to basketball at Michigan tomorrow. Coming up in the show today, we'll have Micah Shrewsberry, the head basketball coach of the Nittany Lions. Cale Sanderson will join us. Dick Girardi will join us. And we're going to hear from Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics, Patrick Kraft, on the show today as well. Now, of course, yesterday was Monday, but we will tell you that today's show is brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. I don't care whether it's 2022 or now 2023. You need insurance more than ever, and you want to be with the pros. Go with people you trust. That's what this show's all about. Our advertisers, talk about, it's easy for me to promote all of them. Sunbury Motors, total trust. Brewers Outlet, total trust. Purdy Insurance, total trust. These are great pros who are even better people, the great people at Purdy Insurance. So auto, home, life, business, motorcycle, boat, RV, whatever it may be. They'll do everything they can to save you money. Bundles, they'll take care of that as well. And not only that, they'll make sure you're fully insured at all times. They're always updating your policies and making sure you're well aware of what insurance you need. Great pros. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. I'm very proud to start out 2023 here in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee, and also a fabulous service department that takes care of everything. Great technicians. They're looking for more. Yeah, this could be a right time for you to get a new job. Sunbury Motors. 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15. Hummels Wharf, online at sunburymotors.com. Tomorrow's show will be in Ann Arbor, as Penn State will play Michigan in basketball tomorrow night. It's a big week for Penn State in basketball. Michigan tomorrow night. And then they have Purdue and the Palestra coming up on Sunday at 6. So we're looking forward to that. So we're going to talk to Micah Shrewsberry about his team, Dick Girardi about Penn State basketball. And we can never skip wrestling. It's a big month for wrestling, especially with a couple of Jordan Center dual meets coming up on the horizon. So coming up, we'll hear from the Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Penn State, Dr. Patrick Kraft, as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance.
And now to present the Leishman Trophy. Here is the president of the 2023 Pasadena Tournament of Roses Association, Amy Wainscott. Amy?
Coach, on behalf of the Rose Bowl game presented by Prudential, it's my honor to present to you the Leishman Trophy. Congratulations.
Let's go! Yeah! We back! We back! Yeah!
Welcome back. Great to have you with us. Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. It seems like the landscape of intercollegiate athletics changes on a weekly, if not daily basis. So it's always important to get the thoughts of the Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Penn State, Patrick Kraft. And the first question he was asked was about the changing landscape and where Penn State is with name, image, and likeness.
It's a good question. Obviously, I felt like we were really behind from a total NIL perspective in educating our student athletes. The collectives obviously have picked up steam in the, I don't even know how long I've been here, 5 months, 6 months. And to be honest, the legislation from the NCAA has changed drastically. So I'll put that all in there and aside. Infrastructure, I think we're in a really good spot. So we're selling all of our athletes' jerseys, which was an important piece through one team, and Fanatics has about, they picked up about 7 of the sports and Campus Inc. So everyone will be able to do their own uniform. So that very visible piece in recruiting they'll have. We've now got all the back end support for our athletes. Here's what I would tell you. What we've got to do now, I just had a meeting last week, is we've been scrambling to get everything buttoned up and all these programs out. Now we've got to, and KP and I we're talking about this, we've got to put it together so that it's easier to comprehend. So from an internal perspective, I feel really good infrastructure where we are. Success with Honor has been really, really strong, and the fundraising efforts there is where those are starting to pick up. We now can obviously help promote that from the NCAA. Tony Misitano had a $1 million gift there, and we sent that note out the other day. So I feel like we're really in a good spot. I don't lose as much sleep over that anymore. Do we have to get better? Yes. This is here to stay. This is part of the world we're living in. I think it's really hard for those of us, and I said this when we started, to really walk through this NIL space. It's counter to everything we all grew up with in the industry. And so we're starting to, when you speak about it and you try to educate not only your students, but your fans and your base, it's okay to do these things. Now, here's what I would tell you. My objective is to make sure I protect the 800 plus student athletes. Tax implications. What does it mean when you put your name on stuff? That's where now we're getting to the point. I'm going to give you every opportunity to be successful in NIL. You can run with it. Some don't want to run with it, but I'm going to give you every opportunity. But let's make sure we're doing the right things and understanding your brand. You know, we got the Brand Academy that's started. So there's just so much there. Long-winded answer. I feel like you can tell it's kind of convoluted, but as a department, we're in a better spot. Now it gets to I think we're in the education and information stage of it all.
Pat, to follow up on Mark's question with the NIL, you said there's been improvement since you arrived. Have you seen tangible results when it comes to attracting student athletes here, whether it be football or any other sport?
I don't know if I could answer that really. I'm being very honest with you, because we're not what you're hearing in the recruiting spaces, and it happened with us just this week. People just won't come. They're throwing $500,000 or $700,000 if you come to X school. We're not going to do that. That's just not how it works. What you will see is a lot of our athletes have had a lot of success in that space. So I don't know. I think it's too early to tell. This is my first recruiting cycle. But it is absolutely a part of the recruiting process. I think this is what gives us an advantage. We're Penn State. We're so big and powerful, and our alums are so engaged. It's harnessing that to help us on the recruiting front. So I just don't know yet what will come of that. I think after this, I'm actually curious post signing day and then getting in the spring. Let's see where the dust settles and what's the impact.
Beaver Stadium, it's been the data collection phase for a long time here. Have you guys made a decision about what you want to do in terms of renovation? And if not, what's kind of the timeline?
So we're close. And I think we're at the point we had a study that was done. There's a lot of studies going on. I mean, there were 19 studies done on the stadium. Nothing was done. So there in the past 8-9 years, there were 19 studies done on Beaver Stadium. So it's not for a lack of information. So now I will tell you this, I feel very comfortable in the next, you got the holidays and you got January, February, but that we will have a recommendation to Neely and the board as to what direction we need to move in. So I do think it's coming now. What the board decides and how they want to move, because it is a huge project. If you're, the renovation, I make no bones about it. I love this building. I love coming in this building, Beaver Stadium. I love the history of this building. When I walk the parking lots and I talk to people about having generations of memories in this building. So I am, I want to make this building better. And when we have to do that. So we're very close. I mean, all the data is there now, figuring out the financial models, how would it work? What's the recommendation? And so we're close.
To follow up on that component of it, the question has always kind of been, well, if you spend X amount on this versus a new stadium, I mean, what is the threshold? What's the point of no return where if you have to spend 600, 700, 800 million to renovate Beaver versus another, how does that all weigh into the equation? To
build a new stadium, there's a threshold. Let me just put it that way. To build new anywhere, it's expensive. Let me just put it that way. I don't know. I mean, we have some numbers, but if you're building new, and look at, I'm going to tell you, we are very proud of having 107,000 and over 100,000 fans. No one's building 100,000 seat stadium. That's important to us. I think that's an important piece to who we are. So yeah, there is a financial threshold that building new just would be, it could be infeasible from the, not feasible with the financial piece.
You said, going back to the NIL, you said that there are schools that are going to say to a kid, $500,000 to come to our school, and you're not going to do that. Do you have enough, oversight of the collectives that you could guarantee that won't happen?
Yeah, because in recruiting, it's still the coaches involved in the recruiting process. And so while I really feel very comfortable, especially with the success with Honor Crew, is that's not what they're there. They know that they're not doing it, and they're doing it. What I believe on what we would always say the Penn State way. We're going to do it on the up and up. We're going to make sure this is the way it should be. But at the end of the day, it's really the coaches that have to make that plea. We're just not going to come and try to pay you to come here. Now, I'm going to say this too. You will have the opportunity to maximize your value when you come to Penn State, irregardless of your sport. Because we've got gymnasts that have a social media presence that are doing extremely well. A lot of it is driven through the social media. You've got, it isn't just your starting quarterback. It's not just Cliff. Cliff's very engaged. It's all your athletes. And so if we can tap and harness, and I can give you all the opportunities to be successful, and then you tap into our alumni base, and we have the second most CEOs in the country, and their businesses start to utilize our athletes to tell their story. That's where you can be really successful. And so that's really why we're trying to harness the energy. A lot is made about the collectives, and they're very helpful, but that's a portion of the NIL space. Corporate is big, utilizing internships and jobs and education. And so we're just scratching the surface. I think you got to find a sustainable model. What we have right now is not a sustainable model. And I don't believe that the way that it is now currently situated across the country is sustainable. And there's a lot of misinformation on what people are being offered. And I think you're going to find as time goes on, wait, they told me I was going to get X and now I'm not. And so I think that's this new NIL world that we're living in. We're still trying to find our way through it. But yeah, I feel really comfortable about where Success with Honor is as a collective and what's happening.
Hey, Pat, how's it going? I'm over.
Oh, there you are. Sorry.
For the longest time, I wanted to do a story about how many season ticket holders there were. And for the longest time, people said that it's not really a piece of information that we want to share. I think people in this room have been curious about, how many studies have been done. That's not always necessarily a piece of information that Penn State historically has wanted to share. You've shared both of those things sort of off the cuff, both between now and a few months ago. What is sort of your balance between Penn State has always handled information this way versus what harm does it do to tell anybody, here are some interesting things that contextualize the decisions that you're making?
I'm just going to be really honest with y'all. That's really, I don't know any other way to do it. I'm not doing it. First off, saying that we have 92,000 football season ticket holders, I don't know anywhere in the world that that's a bad thing. I think it shows incredible support from our base. Okay. 19 studies. It's fact. There were 19 studies done on Beaver Stadium. There will be always stuff that we won't be able to discuss for a myriad of reasons. It's who I am. I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't see it any other way. I can't speak to what happened in the past. I can't speak to other philosophies of the past, but right. I don't know. 92,000 season ticket holders is pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. And I think it shows, I think it's bigger than just that. I think it shows how passionate this base is about Penn State football. I mean, that number alone shows it. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think it's fact.
Hey, Pat. James is often referenced in kind of trying to climb that ladder in college football, the need to retain your top assistant coaches and coordinators, not have them make a lateral move. We haven't seen much of that in recent years, but I know there's going to be targets on the staff. This is the time of year that names pop up. How do you feel like you, the university, and this program are positioned to make sure that James kind of has that stockpile of minds he wants on the staff?
Well, I think you're right. I think you got it. Continuity is huge, right? You want to keep that continuity. There's going to come a time where people just, it's probably better for them to move on to have everyone aspires to be, whether it's a head coach, whether it be a DC, an OC, or whatever that is. I will always be committed to keeping our staff together, no matter what. There just does, like the stadium, there's becomes a threshold where you're like, do we need to invest at that point, or do we feel we've got to move in a different direction? But that will always be in concert with James. I've told James, I said, James, what do we need to be successful? What do we have to do to win a national championship? And so I think keeping staff is critical. I think that's important for not just James, but all of our teams. And I think that's really something that, you got to, if you have a great staff and you got great people, you want to keep them as long as you can. Because every time you turn that over, especially in the coaching ranks, it's just different philosophies. It just becomes it just takes longer to get the process going.
There are a lot of collectives, and NIL for a traditional fan base is maybe a little hard to explain beyond we will give you money and then good things will proceed to happen,
right?
Non-specifically. How has the translation been for you talking to people that you're targeting and saying, look, you can help us with this process, and this is what's going to happen? Because I think sometimes people can look and say, look, here are a bunch of things that are going to help student athletes, but even if I gave you $20, I'm not sure what any of these groups would do with it. I mean, where do you think the translation part is?
It's the biggest challenge, right? And honestly, that's not the conversation I'm having with them. I will put you in touch with Success with Honor or the collectives and then have that conversation. My job is I'm going to talk to you. So everyone always thought it would cannibalize development. It's not. There's enough people that have interest in brick and mortar and scholarships, and now this becomes a part of it. I'm not here to raise money for Success with Honor. I'm here to say, hey, if you want to do that, that's great. Here's the collective. You talk to them. Awesome. But I am not also shy to say that that's important, and the collectives are important. Now, the infrastructure on the back end, there's contracts that they have, and it's probably a good conversation that you should have with the collectives on how they do the back end business piece. My sole focus is to support whatever is in the best interest of our athletes, protect our athletes. So yeah, it's a confusing topic. I know a lot of attention once again goes to the collectives, but there's other ways the NIL space is impactful too. And I think that's what we're really focused on for us. Yep. You saw, I send emails out. I support Success with Honor because it supports all 31 teams. I think there's great programs that they're doing. I think one of the things that's come across to me is a lot of our athletes are doing work through that and meeting different audiences.
That's Patrick Kraft, the Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics at Penn State. Coming up in the next half hour, we will hear from head basketball coach Micah Shrewsberry. Great to have you with us today, brought to you by Purdy Insurance on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
For nearly 100 years, Purdy Insurance has been your locally owned, family-operated source for insurance products. With a staff of over 20 and partnerships with some of the industry's most trusted companies, Purdy has the experience and resources to get the job done. Whether you need personal, home, and auto, or complex business insurance solutions, Purdy will help you navigate through the process. Call today at 570-286-5855, or better yet, stop in their Sunbury office to see what Purdy Insurance can do for you. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you, the other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, motorcycle, boat, RV, whatever it may be. They may do bundles. They'll do everything they can to make you, A, fully insured. That's the goal. 2, also to make sure that you are saving money. The pros in insurance, and you need insurance more than ever. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory with great warranties, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee, and a fabulous service department with great technicians to back it all up. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Basketball, back to the Big Ten season for the Nittany Lion basketball team and back on the road. Flight to Ann Arbor tonight. We are in Ann Arbor tomorrow night. In fact, tomorrow's show will be in Ann Arbor as Penn State gets ready to take on Michigan. Then coming up this weekend, they will play Purdue at the Palestra. That'll be a 6 o'clock game on Sunday. Purdue at the Palestra coming up on Sunday. So it's a big week for Penn State basketball. And always great to be joined anytime by the head basketball coach of the Nittany Lions, Micah Shrewsberry.
Can still do the show, can still be here with you, and, love talking hoop.
Yeah, let's talk some hoop. Hey, you know what? Next time out at the field, I'll kick it an extra everything fry for you. All right? Make up for it.
And I'll eat it.
I'll join you. This week is always an interesting week because of finals. So what adjustments did you have to make with the schedule this week to accommodate finals for your players?
I think early in the week you adjust. So, played Saturday and came back home. We took Sunday off. We took Monday off. So everybody can be organized with their plan, with how they're studying, meeting with professors or study groups or whatever it may be. And then the next couple of days were spent really just kind of given ourselves a break from our study. So we had a short workout on Tuesday, no more than 40 minutes in small groups where the guys can get away for a little bit, come in, break a sweat. And, we keep our conditioning, we keep our skill where it needs to be. We get in and out, and then they get back to studying or taking their tests, whatever it may be. Same thing Wednesday. We went a little bit longer, maybe an hour, a little over an hour, a lot of conditioning, getting up and down the floor. And then the same thing today. We got into talking about Canisius a little bit today, walked through a little bit, did some breakdowns on them, but still short, quick, give ourselves a break, stay sharp, and then we'll come back in and really start focusing more on game plan specific type things tomorrow.
All right, the game against Illinois, as Dick and I pointed out, obviously you went and started with the quote, what we referred to as the small lineup. It's just an easier way of putting it because your play-by-play guy does things simply. All right, so, but I've been around you enough to know that when you do make a decision on something like that, defense is right near the front, if not the front, of a decision that you make. How important is it that you can play that lineup and they're capable of playing the defense you need?
No, that's big. Every decision as we are going into a game, I'm looking at how do we match up? Who are their best players? How do we take away what they do or want to do? And then we decide, how we need to start, how we need to match up. And that's also, it says a lot about your team where, you can make changes and it doesn't affect them, right? If you get some teams and you don't do the exact same thing or things get out of whack a little bit, they can't perform. Our guys just go with the flow because, they know that I believe in every single one of them. Like, I don't even have to explain it sometimes of why we're doing it. They just believe in what we do. They believe in our preparation, and they know that we're making a change because it's going to help us win. And when you have guys that think that way, they care more about winning the game than they do about who starts the game.
It was interesting for Dick Girardi and myself talking with Jalen Pickett after the game, and he brought up Andrew Funk. And Pick said, he said, part of that's me. He says, I did a better job of getting the ball into the spot where he can make a shot. What does that tell you about how Pickett thinks in order to set up somebody else to give them the best chance to succeed?
Yeah, he just knows how much those guys help him. If Andrew's feeling good, he's making shots, and people are worried about him, that less attention that they can put on to Jalen, whether he's coming off pick and rolls or whether he's in the post. So we all click when we're at our best. And, if you can get Andrew going early in the game, it was great to see him make that first shot. Now his confidence is going. But he shot it with confidence. So even if he would have missed it, he like the bounce in his step was a little bit different, where he was locked in, he was ready to go. So, but that changes things. It changes. It makes it hard for people when, he's feeling good and he makes his first one. Miles makes his first one. Now, they're thinking about all these other guys, and Pickett can get them going because he knows, he can get himself going last. But if he can get the other guys going, it makes it that much harder to stop.
Well, there's something else, too, to this. Sometimes I wonder if there are people outside of the plane, and there are some, obviously. But I do know that I'm not sure how many people realize the kind of defense for a year and a half now Seth Lundy's been playing. Now, I know you appreciate it, but what have you seen in his growth at the defensive end, which then has led to maybe some payoffs on the offensive end?
Just his versatility has been good. He's able to match up with a lot of different people. And, with us starting smaller, he's starting on more traditional foremen sometimes. But it allows us he guards those guys well, whether they're perimeter guys or whether they're post guys. He does a good enough job of guarding them. And now, they got to flip it, and they got to figure out how they're going to match up with us or how they're going to guard him because of how well he's playing offensively. So he's picking his spots of when to attack and how to play, when to attack the rim, when to shoot the three, how to get down the floor and get layups and cuts for dunks. And you can tell how comfortable he is because now, there's parts of his game that's starting to open up more. And, he's playing at a really, really efficient level for us.
When the all of us see Kevin Jai got a few minutes, Demetrius Lilly got a few minutes the other night, Evan Mahaffey, Kanye Clary. So the kids are getting in there. How important is the matchup to you, Micah, that allows you to put them in certain spots, even extended spots, that can give them confidence moving forward?
Yeah, and it's probably different with each game. I go into the Michigan State game, and my thought was I was going to try and get Jameel some minutes because of how they guard, what they do. I thought he'd be able to make some shots for us at home, where now you go to the Illinois game, I thought the ball handling of Kanye and Evan was going to help us, right? Having more guys on the floor to handle their pressure, handle their press, be able to break people down off the dribble and make plays. So, you could go into a game and different things dictate who you play. Illinois makes it hard for you to play a big guy with you can't put a big guy on Coleman Hawkins. And he's so important to their offense, their defense. He gets them going, and they've torched people when you've had a big guy in on it. So we had to, the minutes that he wasn't in was pretty limited. So it, kind of takes away from being able to play those guys where, maybe this game against Canisius, they get a chance to play more because they play a couple of big guys. So now they can get some extended minutes based on who they can guard. And, like you asked me at the start, all my decisions are based on who you can guard.
Yep.
I know about offense, and we can figure that part out. But if you can't guard, it's going to be a hard time for you trying to find the floor.
In fact, people have to realize, each big man is not the same. And that when you look at a guy like Coleman Hawkins, in some ways he's like a point center, which makes it a different element for you to take care of, right?
Yeah, they run offense through him.
Yeah.
He is, in theory, he's their point guard.
Yep.
He brings the ball down the floor a lot. He handles the ball for them a lot. He's passing. He makes their offense go. And the more attention that you have to give to him, if you have a big guy on him, because he's able to beat those guys off the dribble, he's able to shoot threes. That's the attention that you're taking attention away from Matthew Meyer or Terrence Shannon, or the other guys start to get loose a little bit more.
The Kanye Clary and Evan Mahaffey got some decent run in the Illinois game, but they also both had some decent run in Charleston. Did that set up a foundation for them to start building their game based on what they did in Charleston, and they give you more confidence as a coach in using them?
I think so. Everything's situational, but they did. They came in and took advantage of the minutes that they got. And that's what you have to do as a young player or a guy that comes off the bench, or you're still trying to find your way. You got to take advantage of the opportunities that you get. And now those guys have done it a couple of times in a row. And that just, you're just banking more and more good vibes with the head coach, right? As I'm thinking about who to sub and who to put in, it's like, hey, this guy did well the last game. Doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen, but you give those guys a little bit longer a leash, because of the things that they've done in the past. So, keep stacking good days, keep building good days. They're doing good things in practice. We just had a great, scrimmage at the end of practice where the younger guys are all together and they push the older guys. They end up losing by 3, but they had a shot to tie it. So they're right there. Those guys are doing everything they need to do to be ready to help us, these games here, but also in Big Ten play.
I think the fans will see, of course, the way Evan can play on offense. He hit a big 3. They see Kanye with the drive and the quickness and the speed out there. What are you seeing from them defensively that also opens up more playing time?
Yeah, I think Evan, his versatility on both ends. And he's kind of doing whatever we need right now. Like, who he's going to be in the future is way different than how he's playing now.
That's right.
But he's doing whatever we ask him to do, and that's been a good thing. There's still some things I think he's got to clean up. He's got to get better at, and got to be more solid for us defensively to continue to help us to get more time. Kanye in the same way. A few games ago we talked to him about avoiding screens and pick and rolls. So now he can use his quickness to get around the screen so our big doesn't have to help as long. So he did a better job of that in the Illinois game of getting through screens, navigating screens, getting back in front of his guy, and then staying in front. If both of them can do a good job of guarding the ball, keeping the ball out of the middle, they're really going to be beneficial.
It's going to be basketball only for a period of time. How important will it be to, quote, take advantage of that, but also do it in such a way where they're not overwhelmed with it either?
Yeah, that's a delicate balance, right, of how much you do, but you don't want to overload them. But you also want them to have fun. You don't want them this period to be where they just dread coming into practice every day. So, it's my job to change up what we do, to keep it fresh, to keep it light, but also get done what we need to get done. And there's some things that I want to do. There's some things I want to add. There's some things I want to work on so we continue to get better that we can bring out once we get to Big Ten play, just to keep people, off balance a little bit.
We mentioned in the previous segment about a couple of the freshmen. You brought up Jameel Brown. So what kind of progress has he made? And then the fans have seen a little bit of Demetrius Lilly. And your thoughts on him?
Yeah, what Jameel is somebody that, he can really, I think he's going to be able to help us. I think he and Meach both are going to be really important for our growth in the future. And Millsy's the one that's been in the toughest spot just because the guys that are playing ahead of him, right? He came in, and we just have older guys that are there. And he just hasn't been able to crack or get by it. But there's opportunities coming up. And what he's continued to do is work. He works, and he's done a great job of, you can see the improvements that he's making every day in practice. So, I'm anxious. I want to get him more time. I want to get him more time, in meaningful minutes so he can go in and play with some of our better guys so he can get familiar with them, comfortable with them. And I think that time's coming for him. Meach he's anxious. He's just anxious to help us, anxious to play. I think the one thing with him that's different is just his physicality. He is not afraid to put his body on somebody. And whether that's a box out, whether that's a screen, whether that's rolling to the rim, a post up, whatever it may be. So we're going to continue to work him in and get him some time. I said Illinois was hard because of how they play, but, Canisius will have some bigger guys in, so he can play more. Keba can play more. We can get more from all of these guys and just hopefully, give them a chance to play, to play with the picket. Now you learn how to play off of him or what you're looking for. So those guys continue to do that. I think they're battling every day of practice. I think they get better every day that we have practice. So this stretch here, where we can have more practices, is going to be really important.
And the basketball team is better because there's competition like that in practice at every position, right?
It is. It is. Like I talked about earlier, that, when we scrimmage, it's not like one team is just blowing the doors off the other team. It's close. And those guys, it just shows you how talented those younger players are, that they can hang with these guys that are older and the guys that start and play more minutes. They're right there with them. And that bodes well for the future, but it also bodes well for the immediate future because, there's more guys that you can trust. When they have those good days, a day like today, that gives me the confidence to put those guys in. And the more days they continue to have like that, the better our team's going to be. We keep each other sharp in practice.
Micah Shrewsberry, head basketball coach of the Nittany Lions. Penn State at Michigan coming up tomorrow night. And then the Nittany Lions will take on Purdue Sunday at the Palestra in Philadelphia. Penn State's had great success in those Palestra games, beating both Michigan State and Iowa. And two, quote, tall tasks with Hunter Dickinson tomorrow night and then Zach Edey on Sunday. Tall tasks, indeed. All right. Next half hour, Cale Sanderson. We'll talk Penn State wrestling with you. Dick Girardi coming up in the final half hour as well. Great to have you with us today. Brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, RV, boat, whatever it may be. Motorcycle insurance. They've got it all at Purdy Insurance. Great pros. I mean, really great people. I mean, just great people. I don't care whether it's Adam or Season or Steve Engel, whomever it be. That whole group. This is a great group to be associated with. They'll take good care of you. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. We're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Cale Sanderson, Dick Girardi, next hour here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.